Okay.
For those who
what we do here is go back.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
What's up, everybody? Hello. How are you tonight? I'm excited. Last night was so much fun. I had a great time, and I'll tell you what, lots of support from everybody too, man. I couldn't have felt the love more than what I saw last night. So that was super cool to see after the live stream and all that good stuff. So I'm really jazzed tonight. I'm really excited. I'm gonna get some work done. I'm gonna show you what to do with some things. So I want to do, I want to do a lot tonight. I want to try to get some stuff done for you guys. I want to work with some epoxy putty a little bit. I got some nasty, gnarly gaps that I need to fill on the Jesta's ankle assembly. I want to kind of rim scribe some of the vent cowls on the back of the Jesta's leg, and probably just continue scribing and stuff tonight. So, man, if you guys are watching, thank you. Really appreciate it. I know some people already in the chat. Strider Prime on the YouTubes, D-Trix42 on a chat. Mikkel, I see you, man. It's the only time where everyone in the house is asleep. You damn right, son. You damn right. Wifey and the kid are asleep. Man, I'm streaming, bro. Let's see who else is on the Facebook. Jimmy Gumpa Fixation, my good friend, the one and only maker of Gumpa Talk, might I add. Excuse me. Andrew's on there as well. Looks like Angela. What's up, dude? I see you got a crazy contest going on in the Philippines, man. I like that. I like to see that. That's awesome. So, man, somebody, couple other people. Yeah, cool. Passed out after work yesterday, so I missed a live one. So that's D-Trix42. That's cool, though. You're here tonight. That's what matters most, right? So we got some people out there watching this. I'm excited, man. Thank you for watching. So as always, everything that you see me working with tool-wise is available on my Amazon Associates page. It's going to have a link in Facebook and YouTube, and if you're watching through Twitch, that'll be there after the fact. After we finish, I'll update the description and all that jazz. It won't let me do that for some reason. I don't know why. I'm still learning. Anyway, hopefully things look better tonight. I changed some things around. So what the camera that you're seeing right now is actually the camera that was shooting the bench yesterday. So this is the C920 Logitech, and when we switch over to the bench cam, that will actually be the Rebel T7i with my L lens on it. So hopefully it should be a lot clearer for you guys, and maybe we can get some nice close-ups for you to see as well. So man, if you're seeing this, if you got time, share this thing all over the place. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it to your mama, your daddy, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your auntie, whoever it is. Go on and share it. It's going to be fun for everybody. We're going to have fun tonight. So with that being said, man, let's jump into this. Let's get the bench cam going, and boom, there we go. Sweet. So I think, yeah, man, that looks a lot clearer, right? Yeah, sweet. Okay, cool. So, what should we start with tonight? I think I'm going to get my hands dirty. I think I'm going to work with some epoxy putty first. So let me grab these pieces here behind everything, and I'll show you what I mean. So what we're going to be working with tonight is one of my favorite materials to work with. Tamiya epoxy putty quick type. That's the important part, the quick type. So it comes in two parts. This yellow part and a white part. You mix them together. You knead it until it's a constant color. You wait 8 hours, and then bada boom, bada bing. You've got a material that's almost the same density as Bandai plastic, which I really, really like. Oh man, Endmaker is in the Facebook chat, dude. Thank you for that share last night, brother. Thank you, man. Angelo, yes, working on the Jesta tonight. Absolutely. We are working on detailing up this little Jesta here, my out-of-box special, if you will. And yes, L lens, fancy. Yeah, well, you know. It's an older lens, so it is what it is. William said, glad you're awake to do this. Sadly, I will miss the live Gunpla Talk tomorrow due to work. Man, you know what? Because you can catch up afterwards, so that'll be a good one. If you guys aren't aware, Gunpla Talk on Saturday, 9 a.m., our guest this week, or this month, is Adam Ryan, the owner of USA Gunpla Store. So that should be a really interesting conversation, because we're going to talk to him about owning a Gunpla retail business and kind of what went into it. We're going to talk about the history. He's also involved in some charities. We're going to talk about that, because that's actually really, really special. And we're going to kind of get into that. And I think this show is going to be really, really interesting. It's always fun to have a retailer on to see that side of the world, because we're just buying kits, man. You know, that's all I know is just I buy kits. I don't sell kits. So that should be really fun. Even if you're not from the US, it still should be fun, because the trials and tribulations of a retailer are pretty universal no matter where you are in the world. So watch it if you are available, or if you're awake. Sometimes you're not. It's a little early on a Saturday, even for me, because I'm a night owl, obviously. So, all right. With that, let's get in here. So what we're going to need some epoxy putty. Now, if you are familiar with the Jesta, man, the ankles, I'm a little disappointed in the quality of plastic that Bandai put into this, because it's that kind of soft plastic. It's not like the armor that they use, the armor style plastic that you see, you know, on all of the kits and everything. It's very soft, and it does not take a scribe well at all. So I'm disappointed with this because what I tried to do, let's see if that focus, whoop, wrong way, there we go. Let's see if we can get a focus on that. All right, so what I tried to do is because this was bare, this was, it looked, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, because it looked like that. It's just bare. That's just ugly to me. It needs something, right? So with that, I tried to scribe in this kind of minus mold detail here on the side, and it just did not, it just didn't take it very well. The scribe itself was not smooth. It started to skip, and then it just kind of looked like a wave in that notch. So I wasn't happy with it. So what I did was I sanded it down a little bit, cut these Kotobukiya minus molds off, probably about 2 millimeters. And so they're only about 1.5 millimeters. So I plugged those right on top of that. But the original piece is beveled. So it does have this kind of nasty gap right here. And I know that's hard to see on the camera. I'm sorry, guys. But what we're going to do is we're going to fill that with epoxy putty. And then I'm going to come back tomorrow or the next day or whenever the next live stream is. Probably going to be Saturday night, I'm thinking, because I might take off tomorrow. It is Friday. Spend Friday with the family, right? It's a no-brainer. So I might do that, and then I'll come back, sand this down, and show you guys what it looks like. But tonight, it's just working with the epoxy putty tonight. I'm gonna show you kind of how to get it together, some of the tricks that I use, and all that good stuff. Now, last night, Kensuke. I said Kensuke because I'm used to my good friend Brax, aka Gundam Nerd, saying Kensuke, but it's actually Kensuke. And he actually lived around here, lived up in New Jersey, and went to some of the classes that we taught there at the Gundam Kitchen. Great guy, very talented modeler. Well, he's in the Coast Guard. He gets shipped out to Hawaii, of all places. So he asked last night about wet sanding and stuff, and I didn't have a little container of water, so I am prepared tonight. So I have my little container of water. We're going to need that for both wet sanding and for working with this epoxy putty because this stuff is super sticky. You do not want to kind of go in raw dog on this and work with your work this with your hands kind of barehanded. Now you could use gloves, but it's still going to be sticky and it's going to stick to those gloves, and it's just not, it's not a fun process doing that. But real quick, let's answer some questions real quick. Dtrix42 on Twitch. Hey, Mav. Dude, Mikkel, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that, brother. But Dtrix42 on Twitch asked if there's any cheap alternative to BMC chisels. That's a complicated question, really, because BMCs are great. They are expensive, but you do get what you pay for. Now, I am invested in BMC, kind of, I'm invested in that environment, so that's my chisel of choice. But MadWorks makes a wonderful product from what I've seen, and they are a bit cheaper simply because they're designed differently. They actually slide in, some of the thinner ones will slide into a hobby knife. Let's get this on the other camera here so you can actually see it rather than this little one here. So this is just my Olfa hobby art knife. And the thinner MadWorks chisels will fit perfectly into this. The thicker ones, you do have to have a wider kind of grip to accept those wider blades, the 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter, 1 millimeter, etc. But the thinner ones that you'll use for panel lining and some for notches and things like that will fit perfectly in this. Now, my good friend Kevin, Mr. K-Dash, the one and only Dash Man, Mr. GBWC USA over here, he sells these in the US for a very, very attractive price. So if you happen to look up Mr. Dash on Facebook, You'll find his web store. Go and support him. He's a great guy. Love Kevin. Let's see. What else do we got? Oh, look, Xavier's in the chat. Hey, what's up, man? The joint plastic is the polystyrene they introduced in the new Verka to replace the ABS plastic. Yes. I like the ABS plastic. Maybe I'm the only one. I don't know. It was resilient. Better. I personally liked it better. It took a better scribe and sanding and the whole nine. It's just kind of gums up, and it's just, I'm not a huge fan. But modeling is, part of modeling is overcoming challenges. So that's what I do. I overcome challenges with this thing. So that's why I glued this on here. So let's start doling out some epoxy putty here. So we got our two parts. We want equal parts of these things. So what I'm going to do is find my old X-Acto knife on this desk somewhere. It's somewhere here. I know it is. I have a feeling that it is. Matthew JJL, I would recommend K-Dash's shop. Excellent. Shipped quick and cheap shipping costs. Awesome. That just goes to show you. Kevin is the man. He was wondering what epoxy putty you're using. Cool. Okay, good question. You're a little late because I showed it just a little bit before, but that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Tamiya epoxy putty quick type in the green box. Great stuff. My favorite. I've used a lot of epoxy putties, Magic Sculpt. I've even got, let's see, the Tamiya Smooth Surface here. I'm not a big fan of that. I've got Milliput around here somewhere. I don't know where it is because I don't use it. I use this stuff. This stuff is great. It smooths perfectly. You can get this stuff just baby butt smooth. So that's what I use, and that's what this stuff is. So good question. Good question. All right, so let's go back to the hunt of the missing X-Acto knife here. Where is it? Where is it? It's around here somewhere. It's not in that box. Ah! Found it. I found it. Here we go. Matthew, you are welcome, man. Flynn Burger. Mr. Craig Flynn, everybody, for those of you that don't know. He's in on watching YouTube. Follow him on Instagram, if you will, and on YouTube. He's a good guy. I like Craig. He's good. And also a good modeler. He's doing this Haro Pla model that he changed it, he modified it into Wilson, the volleyball from that Tom Hanks movie, Castaway. You know, the one where he's like, Wilson! That one. It was really cool. I like it. I dig it. So check him out on Instagram. Good dude. Good dude. Thank you for watching too there, Craig. Facebook working. It is tonight. It's not working in my chat program though, so that's why I have it open as a third window tonight, because I learned something from last night. Imagine that. All right, so we're gonna cut, and we only need a little bit here, so I'm gonna cut just a scotch off here. We're gonna get that going. All right, so now we've got this here. Now, ideally, what you want to do is you want to work with like a palette, so that you're not having it stick to your cutting mat. So I just have a piece of plastic, nothing special, just a piece of styrene. We're going to take this off. Now, it's not insanely sticky right now. It does become sticky when you put these things together and start kneading them. So that's when it gets nasty. So we're gonna get some water going here after that. But let's get a little bit of this yellow stuff going. Peel that back. It's got backing on it on both sides so it doesn't stick. Now, what I would recommend is to, if you don't use it as much as I do, which I do use it quite a bit, is to throw this in like a Ziploc bag or something like that. That'll keep it nice and fresh and soft and all that good stuff. And let's see, does that look even? That looks pretty even to you guys, right? I think so. It's not focusing, but whatever. It looks even to me. So that's what we're going with. We're going to set these two little pieces off to the side, and then we're going to get to kneading this stuff and getting it blended and mixed up and all that good stuff. Let's see. What do we got in the chat? Oh, cool. Endmaker is still in there. Buddy, thank you, man. Thank you for that support, man. Endmaker makes some kick-ass Gundam videos, man. If you've not seen Endmaker's videos, which I'm probably sure you have being shared all over the internets, go check him out on Facebook. Just an amazing filmmaker and an awesome modeler. Dearbot and that Thanos. Okay. I don't get it, but okay. Please elaborate, sir. All right, so what I'm doing, I dip my fingers in here now. With the water, that's going to act as basically a barrier for this thing to stick to my hands. Now, I'm going to just kind of knead it back and forth, just kind of folding it, and just kind of getting a good mix of things. What's going to happen is that water, the water's not going to affect this stuff at all in the end product. So we're going to keep reapplying water to our hands so this stuff doesn't get on our hands. And I just keep folding it back and forth, just kind of smushing it together. There's no special process for mixing this stuff together. It's just, it's like dealing with clay or Play-Doh or whatever. So it's actually really simple, to work with this stuff. A lot of people hear epoxy putty and they see people reshaping and stuff like that. It's just another material for us to achieve our goal. Now, I can feel this stuff kind of starting to stick up, so we're going to wet our fingers here just a little bit more so we don't get that stuck kind of in the creases of our fingerprints and stuff. Oh, here we go. Dearbot saw a video where he did a repaint. Oh, yes! Sorry that you caught me out of left field. Yes, he did a repaint of the Thanos figure. What? It was amazing, dude. All of his videos are just insane. So, man, Endmaker, you're the man, dude. Seriously. I respect the filmmaking because that's kind of part of my everyday kind of day job, if you will, is to make some videos here and there. It's not like a main thing, but when the need arises, I'm the one in the company that gets called. So I know what goes into making a good video. And man, yours are top notch, dude. So check him out, Endmaker on Facebook, and also on Instagram. And I don't know if he's anyplace else. I'm sure he probably is on YouTube. But I follow him on Facebook and Instagram. Good dude, man. Really good dude. All right, so we are getting close to this being mixed properly. And it's pretty much one kind of constant color. And you'll see it's just kind of like a lighter shade of that golden color that it used to be. So here's the original, here's the mixed part. Obviously that's much lighter now. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for just like a nice smooth consistency, no streaks, just properly mixed in here, and all that good stuff. So I got some more people watching on the good old Facebook. Thank you for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Let's see. Yeah, we're looking good. Looking good. All right, so this stuff is now ready to go. We got a little water on the palette here, so we're just going to knock that off, dry that off a bit. It's not a big deal if you do have some more on there. So we're going to stick that on the palette. Our hands are nice and clean from the water. Hardly any residue. Perfect. Just perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. I'm going to put this water over here so I don't accidentally knock it on myself and then cause a mess. That would be bad, especially during a live stream, I think. Now, what I like to do, and this is optional, you can use whatever type of tool that you would like. This is a putty knife, a knife tool, I should say. It's not really a knife because there's no sharp edges or anything to it. Plamo Warrior, what's going on, brother? He's on YouTube. And so this is a tool. I forget exactly where I got it. I think this was, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I don't know. Anyway, you can get these online. You can get this on Amazon because I do remember I got this on Amazon. But this is a putty tool, and it's got two sides to it. It's got this kind of sharp looking kind of knife edge to it here. Let me kind of try to focus in on that. Yeah, there we go. A little bit better, maybe not. So yeah, not really. Great job there, buddy. All right, so that's a little bit better, not by much, but that kind of looks like a little knife there. And then this. Where'd you go? Okay, right there. Okay, so that is what's focusing, and that kind of looks like almost like a golf club. Best way I can describe it. And I use both of these sides, but I'll use this side here more than the other side, just because I find that this gets bet into kind of nooks and crannies better, and I work with it a lot better. Sometimes I'll use the golf club side, but not very often. I would be remiss if I did not put on my good old Optivisor. This, like I said last night, is an extension of my eyes. So we're going to use this to see the very, very minute detail in here and really apply this epoxy putty properly. Now, the water has evaporated from this pretty much, and it's very sticky at this point. Just checking the tack, and it's sticking to my finger pretty well. So this stuff is ready to go. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to take this side of the putty knife and get us a little dab of epoxy putty, and then we're just going to go around this and just kind of smush it in that crevice that we're trying to fill. So Optivisor down, let's go. All right, now this is not necessarily a detailed, meticulous type of process. Basically, this is just like puttying a seam line or something to that effect. You do want to try your best to be neat and tidy and all that good stuff, but it's not a huge deal. And what I'm going to do, because this stuff is starting to stick to the knife a little bit more than I would want, I am going to wet the knife down, knock off a little bit of extra, so that way it doesn't stick to the knife as much as it is from what I'm experiencing here at this point. So what that'll do is that will also help me smooth this out a great deal. And we're just going around this thing. We're just kind of pressing it in, making sure that we're getting enough epoxy putty in that little seam to properly fill it. Now, I kind of see this as if you guys have drywall or plaster for that matter in your home. If you put a nail into the wall or something like that, or if you accidentally dent the wall, you use spackle to fill that up. That's kind of what this is. We're just filling these seams with spackle. Gunpla Fixation on YouTube, he says, "Holy crap, I have that exact same tool. It's awesome." Jimmy, you're right. It is awesome, buddy. Thank you for the comment, by the way. All right, so back to work. We're going to keep filling this around. We got 4 to do. This one's, taking me a little bit longer than expected just because I'm talking and kind of explaining the process to you guys. But we're going to motor on those other 3 here after this. I'll shut my mouth and, try to focus on that so we're not wasting time here tonight. So I can show you some other cool stuff. Because, like I said, with that this thruster cowl on the back of the Jesta leg, I'm going to need to make a jig, which is basically it's a scribing jig. And if you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, what have you, you might have seen me using other kind of jigs for scribing or setting up pieces and aligning things and all that. They're a good thing to have. We kind of get that process and that terminology from the woodworking world, which I am very much a fan of. Most of the furniture here in the studio has been made by yours truly, and mind you, it's not fine woodworking. It's just kind of rudimentary stuff. Maverick here on YouTube says, "All right, Tim, save this live stream so I can continue watching it at work." Absolutely, dude. And it's going to be on Facebook, and it's going to be on YouTube, and it's going to be on Twitch. So any one of those three, you can watch it on there. Have a great night. I'll talk to you later. Enjoy work tomorrow, because I know I'm not going to be. So I feel you. But thanks for tuning in, dude. All right. So we've got a little bit too much water on this thing, which is unfortunate because we need to kind of just deal with that, because what that's doing is that's making kind of a separation layer between the epoxy putty and the plastic. Now, when that dries, when that evaporates, and it will, that'll be perfectly fine. But on this side, just blow some of that water off there, and that's really all you kind of have to do sometimes, is just kind of get the water out of the way for what you're working with. And it's still just not where I need it to be. So we're going to move on to the other side here, and we're just pressing that in, just kind of like I said, like spackle on a wall. And you're just filling, getting that seam filled, and should be good to go on this thing. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a work of art at this point. It's going to probably look ugly. It's not going to look pretty, that's for damn sure, but you don't need it to be. This is the beginning process. It's going to look rough. Let's see if I can get that to focus there. Cool. All right, so it's going to look rough. It's just going to look like it's going to look like you crammed like peanut butter on there or something. It's not going to look great. So that's essentially what we're going for, and that's what every single piece of mine starts out looking like. Just it looks like a mess. Once this is cured and dried, that's when we go back and we refine the surface and everything, and we'll sand this all down so it's all nice and flush. And then once you prime this thing, you will not be able to tell that there's a seam line there. So that's why I like epoxy putty so much. So we're going to put that piece off to the side. We're going to continue with these other four here. Now I'm going to get a little bit more water on here, but knock some off, and hopefully that should be enough to keep it from sticking to our knife, but not too much to where it won't stick to the piece itself. So let's see what we've got here. Yeah, that's looking good. Looking good. All right, and we're just gonna go around and just kind of putty that in there. Just kind of smoosh that into the seam. And you want a little bit of buildup. You don't want it flush, because you need something there to sand. And what happens is that this epoxy putty does have a small tendency to shrink and contract a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. So we want that to have a nice, good surface so that we can sand it down. And once we do that, it'll be nice and flush with the rest of the piece. So this is looking pretty good so far. Nice consistency, good adhesion, and that's really what you're looking for. Let me just kind of spread this around like peanut butter. I'm sure you guys have, if you have kids or if you're young, I'm sure you guys have made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or maybe even peanut butter and honey. I know my daughter loves peanut butter and honey, so we're gonna need a little water on there, just a little bit. And so I pride myself on making a pretty damn good peanut butter and honey sandwich, so I'm good at this. Oh, look, Ray's in the chat. Mr. Ray Charles on Instagram and on good old Facebook there, so follow him. He's a great modeler too. Probably one of the most underappreciated American modelers out there, in my opinion. Very talented. Very talented. He won a nice little prize at GBWC last year at New York Comic Con. Very happy to see that, by the way. He definitely deserved it. Okay. So we're looking pretty good. We are almost done with that second piece. And just making sure that we're filled in on all these sides. Looks good. Next piece. Boom. All right. Again, a little bit of water. Knock off the excess. And get a little bit of putty there. Now, obviously, this is not the most glamorous task in the world in terms of modeling. This is not, scribing crazy panel lines. This is not scratch building some new part that will blow people away. But this is part of the basics right here. And this is absolutely crucial in my opinion, because seam lines just, they take away from the illusion of it being a scale model. So, if you guys are watching this, make sure that you fill your seam lines. Or hide them. That's another trick too. You can cover them with some sort of detail or strip or something like that. Let's see. That box on the bottom right is blocking the view. Well, yeah, it is. But that's part of the overlay. I'll try to move more into the camera, so I apologize for that. And I have a bad tendency of pulling back from the work table too. So thank you for the heads up, dude. I will try my best to work more over here, if you will. But back to it, let's see. All right, we're getting good fill on this. And it's getting a little sticky, so I might have to re-wet the knife here. Knock that off. And yep, looking good, looking good. All right, so we need a little bit more putty. And be careful when you're working with this epoxy putty too, is because you don't necessarily want to go at it with your fingers, or once you've smoothed it down with like a putty knife or something like that, you don't necessarily want to bump it with your fingers or what have you, and have to re-smooth that that putty back because you knocked into it by accident. So just be very careful. Man, this stuff is not wanting to cooperate with me right now on the side for some reason. That's okay. We work it. Work it in. There we go. Now we got it. Now we got it. Okay, almost done there. Just need to touch up the top side here, make sure we got enough. Need a little bit more. Just spread that on there. Re-wet the knife. And like you've seen, you need to kind of re-wet your knife pretty often, just because you don't want that putty sticking to the knife more than it needs to. And there's a fine line, obviously, between not wanting it to stick, but then having too much water on the piece, so it won't stick to the piece properly. So, you just need to be mindful of that. So that piece looks good there. We're going to move on to the last piece. Put that on that side. Let's see. Andrew's going to bed. Andrew Young. All right, good deal. Mr. Banshee on Facebook there. So good night, Andrew, and take care. Thanks for watching. All right. So this piece I actually tried to sand down and smooth, but I just wasn't feeling it. So we're going to fill this with epoxy putty. Okay, looking good. And you want to make sure not to try and not get the epoxy putty all over the other pieces or a part of the other side of the piece that you're working on. You want to be careful because, like I said, this stuff will stick. So you want to try and avoid contact with other parts of the piece that you're working on, if you absolutely can. If not, it's not a huge deal. That can be sanded off, smoothed down, all that good stuff. But it's just easier not having to do that. If you don't have to work harder, why do it? All right, so this is going down pretty good. We need a little bit more on here. Looking good. Need a little bit more water there just to smooth that out. Now, this stuff will take approximately 8 hours to cure. And what I like to do, and as you can obviously see, I've made way more than I've needed to. And I do that on purpose, actually, because I'll let these parts sit. I won't touch them. And I will gauge the level of cure on this leftover bit here on the plastic, on this pallet. So that's just, kind of a good rule of thumb. You're not wasting all that much because this stuff is not terribly expensive. And you don't want to waste too much, obviously, but you want to have a nice, confident way of judging whether it's cured or not without having to actually touch your piece. Because if you touch that piece and it's smoothed down and it's looking good, and you touch it and it's not cured properly, you're going to end up with a fingerprint on that thing. Or your worst case scenario is you're going to push epoxy putty where you might not want it to be. So that piece is done. All 4 of these pieces are done. So we're going to set that to the side. We are going to save this and put this off to the side as well. And so that's working with epoxy putty. So it's really, really simple. Oh, cool. David Liu, Mr. Choco Falcon, for those of you playing at home. Last year's Singapore GBWC champion, he made the giant Sinanju Neo Zeong hybrid. That thing was awesome and one of my favorite models of all time. David, you're a beast, dude, and he's making some really cool stuff for this year's GBWC. So if you don't follow him on Facebook, Choco Falcon, he does live streams as well. They're very, very interesting. I tune in when I can. But thank you for watching, dude. Appreciate that. Let's see. Flynn, missed a bit of the stream, mate. Are you filling a seam there or plugging holes? Good question. I was filling a seam. I applied a minus mold, Kotobukiya minus mold to a part, but the piece underneath was beveled, so I had to fill a seam. So that's what I was doing. Not a normal seam between two parts, but an artificial seam, if you will. So we're going to get rid of the water because we're not going to need that for right now for this next part that I want to do. Next, I want to build the jig, the scribing jig that we're going to use. So what we're going to do, where is that piece? Here it is. Okay, so this is a vent cowl, which is this piece right here. You know, there's a thruster in there, and that just it's the cowling around it to basically direct that thrust out of that. So that's the other piece. We're going to work on this piece. This is the piece that I pulled off the other leg. So what I want to do is create a scribe 2 millimeters away from this side of the cowl. So basically, it's a rim scribe, if you will. So it's a constant distance from the edge of the piece. That's what a rim scribe is. So to do that, we are going to need a bit of plastic strip. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is 3.2 millimeter, or this might actually be 4. Let's find out. Nope, that's 4. Okay, so we don't want that. We need 3.2. So let's reach over here to the collection of plastic strip. If you guys aren't familiar with evergreen strip, this stuff is just amazing. I use it all the time, and I use a lot of it, obviously. So let's find, I need a 1 millimeter 3.2 wide. So let's go through here and find that. Let's see. Because I'll show you why I need a 3.2 millimeter strip here momentarily. Because what I want to do, oh come on, where is it? I know I've got some. So I just bought 2 packs of it a couple weeks ago. So let's see, where is it? Bingo, we've got a winner. All right, 1 by 3.2. There we go, all the way in the back. Go figure, right? So we're gonna put the other strip over there in the workspace. Now I've got a little bit of a strip already worked on here, so we're going to grip that and let the other part fall out. So there we go. That's all we're going to need. We're not going to need much because we're just going to be working with this length of strip, and that's all we really need. So we're just going to kind of eyeball that here. Let's see what we're going to need. So let's call it, just to be on the safe side, we're going to call that 14 millimeter. So this is a great little T-square from Wave. You can get this actually on Hobby Search from Japan. Very useful tool. My ruler of choice at this point because it's so convenient to use. So we're going to pop that. And this doesn't have to be straight or accurate in any way, shape, or form because this is just the jig that we're going to use. So we've got a little strip of plastic here. And what we need to do is we need to cut another piece of the same diameter strip right basically the same size here. So pop that, put this off to the side here. So now we've got 2 pieces of 3.2 millimeter strip. So what we're going to do is make a right angle. So to do that, Ultra Liquid Control Loctite. This is my favorite super glue. You can get it at hardware stores, on Amazon, what have you. You can buy it in bulk on Amazon. That's what I like to do. But overseas, I'm sure they have different things. Not sure if you'll be able to find Loctite, but if you can, I love this stuff because it's not very brittle like some of the other super glues that I've tried. So, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take our little tweezers. These are by Eck Tools, my favorite tweezer, and we're gonna hold one side of the, or one piece of the strip there, and that's gonna be our gluing edge. So we're just gonna run a little bead of super glue right along there, kind of wipe off any excess that might have gotten on there. Put that super glue off to the side. Now, what we're gonna do is match this up to the edge of the other piece as best we can. And we're gonna try to get that as straight as possible. And what I like to use is, this is a 1, 2, 3 block. This is a machinist block. Very inexpensive, and they're completely right angles. And they're great to have when you need to glue something up like this that needs to be fairly accurate. So I'm just pushing that against that block, and since this is steel, you can just kind of pop that off of there, and it's not going to stick very well. So let's check that for squareness and even. Yeah, I think that's good enough. I think that's good enough. All right, let's double check it with the ruler. A little bit over 2. And a little bit over 2. Not sure if I'm happy with this right now. Well, on second thought, I might be completely happy with it. Yeah, no, I'm good. That's actually square, so cool. So now we've got our jig. That's all that it is. It's just a right angle. Very, very simple to do. Endless Inferno, you just joined. What did you miss? Great for joining. Thank you. You missed only a little bit. Nothing crazy. We were using epoxy putty to fill seam lines on the Jesta's ankle assembly. So you can go back and watch that tomorrow or after the stream or something like that. It was not the most exciting thing in the world. It was just me kind of filling it in with epoxy putty. So don't worry, you didn't miss much. Okay. So what we've got here, like I said, is a right angle. And now, since I glued this 1 millimeter strip on to the surface of a 3.2, that subtracts the 1 millimeter, and now this edge here, this inside edge, is now 2.5 millimeters. I'm not going to measure it, but it's a little bit above 2 millimeters. So that's perfectly in line with what I want. So now we're going to hang that edge off of here, and now, as you can see, we've got a perfectly straight, rigid scribing guide. See? That's all you got to do. And now you run your scriber along there, and you'll have a nice 2 millimeter rim scribe all the way around. Now, the problem that you're going to run into with this particular piece, and hopefully that will pick up there, this top angle right here is obtuse, meaning it's over 90 degrees. Since this is 90 degrees, it won't fit there perfectly. Not a big deal. We can overcome that. So what we're going to do is we're going to scribe the other sides first. We'll make that last, and I'll show you how to do that properly momentarily. So 0.15 millimeters, that's my preferred width of scribing or a panel line. Endless Inferno. Anyone ever play Gundam Crossfire for PS3? That is the best game ever. You gotta play it. I don't have a PS3. I don't really game too much, so You kind of lost me there, but if you enjoy it, dude, cool. All right, so let's start here. And always make sure you've got the right side, because if you flip this around and scribe the other side, you're going to have a 3mm rim scribe rather than a 2, and you're not going to have a fun day. That would be bad. So, just like last night, we're going to let the scriber do the work. First pass is a light pass. We're going to do multiple passes. Nice, quick, even pressure. And like I said last night, if you watched, that scribe line, you'll hear it. If it's one continuous noise, then you've got a pretty smooth scribed line. If it's skipping or screeching or what have you, it may not be the greatest scribe in the world at that point. So you need to just kind of go back, even that up a little bit. So that looks really quite good. Let's see if we can get that on camera here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. Maybe try to catch the light there. Maybe I'm too close. Yeah, okay. So there you can see it as I catch the light on this thing. It's a 2mm 2mm rim scribe right around this. Now what's going to happen is I'm probably going to paint this a different color from the back part and have it look like a separated piece. So we'll do that here momentarily, just in a minute. So this thing is beveled, so you do want to be careful around the bevels because you can really mess that up pretty easily. So you want to go super slow on the bevels. Just keep the same angle and scribing motion that you do around the other parts. And you just want to get just a little bit of scribe in there for those teeny tiny bevels around, like on the corners and stuff. Let's see. Speaking of Gundam Crossfire, I'm gonna go play it. See you. Okay, cool. Hey, Inferno, Endless Inferno on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. If you want to come back to the stream, more than welcome to, or you can watch it later. So thank you, man. There's always the putty to correct the mistake. Ron Art on Facebook. You are correct, sir. There is always putty. I'm kind of the mantra that if you're going to do it right the first time. But you can definitely fix the mistake if you mess up on it. It's not the end of the world. So we're going to scribe the bottom here. Nice, even, not too much pressure. Looks pretty good. Now we're going to do the other side. Light passes. Let the scriber do the work. That's what it's there for. You just want to just kind of ease into it. Not a ton of pressure. Okay. Got the sides, the bottom bevels, and the bottom scribed, looking good. Let's deepen that other side bevel right there just a little bit more. And then we're going to go back and we're going to deepen the bottom just a bit. Now you hear that? That's skipping. That's skipping. That's what I mean by skipping. That's, okay. So this panel line, not going to be smooth. So what I do is I turn it around and I go from the other direction. Oh, let's see. Kristen Heggard or something. I don't know, but hey, thanks for that. Thanks for the sub. Appreciate that. Good on you. Welcome to the Child of Mecha family. All right, so we're going to continue to deepen this panel line here on the bottom. Much smoother sound, much easier to scribe. So sometimes, like you've just seen, when the plastic's fighting you, sometimes all you got to do is turn it around, go from the opposite direction, and you'll win that battle. All right, so now we've got 1, 2, 3 sides, bottom bevels, all done. So now what we need to do is we need to get this top bevel done, or this top surface. We need to get that done. So first thing I'm going to do is to scribe the top bevels first, because that is absolutely crucial for scribing the top surface, the one that we can't use this scribing jig on. And I'll show you why here in just a second. Okay. Come on, work with me here. All right, so this side's fighting me a little bit. I don't know why. All right, there we go. Okay. Now, once these two top bevels are scribed properly, in just a minute, we are going to pull out our good friend, Dymo tape. And now, if you've done this right, which hopefully we have, we can simply put up a small piece of Dymo tape, connect the panel line on both bevels, scribe that, and hopefully it all comes together in one nice, neat package. So, if you are tuning in tonight, and if you did not tune in last night, I had said that keep your Dymo tape scraps in just a little container like this, and you can go back and use them pretty easily, because these things come in very handy. Let's see, I need a smaller piece than that. This one looks good right here. Come on. Oh, let's see. Cygus, number 7. Thank you for the follow, sir. Appreciate that. Love hearing that noise, that bling noise. Makes me happy. So thank you, guys. Thank you for causing that noise. All right, so we got a little piece of Dymo tape here. We got our itty bitty hobby knife here by NT Cutter. We're going to peel off the backing piece on this. Peel that back a little bit, grab it with tweezers, peel that backing piece off, and while I'm sitting here, I forgot to have proper chisel discipline. Cap your chisels if you're using them, or I should say when you're not using them. That way you don't break the tip or bump them into something and cause them to chip or dull. That would be a bad day. All right, so what we're going to do, oh, this is just long enough. Whew. Cutting it close there, boy. All right, lay that down, connect those two panel lines. Even it up, because they both need to connect these properly, and alignment is very important with something like this, because if you're not aligned, you'll see it when it connects at the corners. Whoop, there's another noise. Dearbot hosting with 1 viewer. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the host. I appreciate that. made that noise. Thank you. All right, so we're going to get the 0.15 chisel back out here, and we're going to scribe that new line. Again, light passes, let the chisel do the work for you. Looking good. Looking good. All right, so we got enough passes to remove the Dymo tape to see what this looks like. Hopefully it's connected properly and it's parallel to the front, because there's nothing worse than not perfectly parallel panel line when you're trying to do a rim scribe like that. So sometimes it's not great. All right, so not perfect. I'll admit that. It's not perfect, but good enough. For this model, this is not a competition entry. This is not something that I'm going to be entering any contests in or any... Shit, I just scratched it. Whoops. That happens. Just sand that out. No big deal. So, you know, I'm comfortable with a panel line not being absolutely perfect. Okay, so my scriber jumped the panel line here, and it scratched the rest of the surface that I don't want there to be scratches on. So I am going to sand that down, and we're going to wet sand that. I'm going to show you how to do that here, because Kensuke last night asked about wet sanding. So it's a good thing that I have the tub of water here. Let's see. All right. Wet sanding's great. If you guys aren't wet sanding, start. Because this will get you a smoother surface than just regular sanding, just dry sanding, raw dogging it. So what I do, tub of water right here, waterproof sandpaper. Not sure what grit this is because it's kind of worn, but not a big deal because you can still use this. So dip it in water, just submerge it, get it nice and wet, kind of squeeze out any air bubbles that might be holding on there, knock off the any excess water, and you want to do this kind of over the container of water because it can kind of make a little bit of a mess. And you just sand it like you would with dry sandpaper. And with a piece like this, you need to be a little bit careful because you don't want to round over the edges of the piece that are supposed to be nice and sharp. So just kind of circular motion, nice and controlled. You don't want to go. That's not a good look either. I just saw myself doing that, and I'm uncomfortable. All right. So that looks good. Dip that in the water, clean that off. That's nice and smooth. Let's smooth out the top here. I'm going to do the same thing, get a little bit more water on there, go to work on this top. Now, that scratch was not deep, thankfully, but if it was, you could use putty, you could use filler putty or something like that to fill in, you know, kind of deeper scratches. But thankfully, this should come out with just a bit of sanding. And if not, I will maybe scrape it down a little bit. Now, I realize that I am pulling back from the camera, and I apologize about that. We'll try to keep it in frame, as they say. So, again, nice controlled movement. Dip that in the water, see how that looks. Still a little scratch right where it jumped the panel line. So we're going to flip that around, get a little bit more coarse side of the sandpaper, the side that I have not used as much. We're just going to kind of buff that out, sand it down just a little bit so we can eliminate that scratch. I think that looks good. Let's see. Let's dip it in water, clean it off. Bingo. That's exactly what we want. Exactly what we want. So this shows you why wet sanding is such a good practice to start. So if you guys, like I said, if you are not wet sanding, you need to start wet sanding because it will give you a much smoother surface. It will, show you imperfections in the plastic because there are imperfections in Bandai models. There are, sometimes dips and things like that, and normally you won't be able to see them with a naked eye, but they do become somewhat accentuated when you lay down primer, when you lay down paint, things like that. They're not massive, they're not deep. You could probably get away with leaving them there if you're not entering a competition. But if you are, then, a full sand down of, at very least, the armor is a good practice to do. Just to make sure that it's nice and smooth so that judges see that your paint, in turn, is nice and smooth. All right, let's get this last side here. We're going to dry this off with a paper towel, and we're going to see what it looks like and how we did, essentially. So we want this bottom to be nice and smooth. Okay, dip that in there. I've got a little paper towel over here that we'll dry this off with. And it's just a regular paper towel, nothing special. Should probably dry my hand off too. Okay, looking good. Looking good. If you get a little bit of lint from the paper towel on your piece, don't worry. That is easily removed once this thing is completely dry. Once the water is evaporated, all that, you can just kind of wipe that away with an old paintbrush or something like that. Basically just an old cheap just craft store paintbrush. I just like to kind of brush the debris away, any remaining dust, any lint from the paper towel, stuff like that. So let's see that top piece. Man, that is nice and smooth now. That scratch completely eliminated, completely 100% gone. But what we're going to need to do is we're going to just make one more pass over those panel lines just to clear out the gook and kind of that wet slush from the dust and the water and everything. So we're going to do that just really quick. And that will clean up those panel lines perfectly. There we go. All right. So now we've got a good rim scribe around this piece. So let's see if the camera will focus on that. It doesn't look like it. Maybe not. Let's see. Let's try it with, hold it up with the tweezers here. Let's see if that'll work for you. Get a little bit more control of the piece. Where's the light? Where's the light? Where's the light? Trying to catch the surface with the light. All right, so right there you can kind of see that scribe line. And then on the other side, this is the bottom side here. Where's the light? It's not catching it. A little bit maybe there. Might be able to see that. Oh, now you can see it. Okay. Well, not anymore. I just moved. Okay, there. So you can see how that scribe line goes all the way around. Now, what I envision is that the front part of this cow be a different color, maybe white, maybe red, maybe orange. I don't know. Whatever kind of cautionary color that you may want to use, that's what I would probably recommend on that front part. And then on the back part, behind that rim scribe, maybe an accent color, maybe a secondary color, a gray, a blue, or what have you. Maybe keep it kind of like this color blue or something like that if you're so inclined. So that's what a rim scribe is. Just using a simple little plastic jig that we made from scratch, just out of 2 pieces of plastic strip. Very, very simple, but extremely, extremely useful. So use jigs, guys. These come in so handy. George over on YouTube, I see you're using sandpaper, but sometimes I have seam lines or imperfections in recessed areas that are hard to get using sandpaper. Any tools or tips for that? That's a great question. That's a great, great question. Yes, because we will run into those a lot, especially with lower grade Bandai models, high grades, no grades, things like that. The old 1/100 no grade kind of seed kits come to mind because they had a lot of those. It will ultimately depend on the piece itself. But if it's just like a flat surface, like a vent or something like that, or maybe just an indent, kind of an indented panel or something, there's a few things that you can do. They're not the easiest things in the world to overcome, but there are options. You can take your tweezers. These are again are my favorite tweezers. These are by Eck Tools. These are just kind of crafting tweezers, but they're kind of clamp, like reverse grip or something. I forget what they're called. And I'll be honest with you, I love these things so much that I bought 2 pair. I got an extra, just a perfectly brand new pair here, just because I like them, and so I bought an extra pair just in case they went out of business or stopped making them or something. So you can take these tweezers and fold up a little bitty piece of sandpaper and put them right there on the tip and try your best to sand that way. Or another way to hide those is to maybe fill it with a little bit of plastic sheet or something like that. You can just cut this to the size of that indent and then just glue that down in there, and any seams or any gaps or anything, fill that in with putty, sand it all smooth, and if you've done a good job sanding and smoothing, once you lay down primer, you'll never see that gap. Now, if it's something a little bit more complex, like a vent or something like that, then you need to be a little bit more creative. Sometimes in the past, what I have been forced to do is cut that piece out and replace it with something else. So if it's a vent or something to that effect, what I will sometimes do is cut that completely out and then glue a piece of plastic underneath of that surface, so I can put something, so I can glue something in its place, something like a Kotobukiya vent or something like that. Obviously does not have seam lines, and you'll need to cut the hole or gap or what have you to fit the size of whatever vent you may have. But replacing details is not unheard of. A lot of people do it. I do it all the time myself. And 9 times out of 10, they'll end up looking a lot better than what Bandai has provided you. So those are some options, but you do need to get creative based on the piece that you have. Hopefully that answers your question. Great question, by the way. good question here from Facebook. Kai-san Ing. Thank you for watching, by the way. Why sand with water? Well, great question. So the act of wet sanding, which is what we do, what happens is the dust that you kick up from the sanding process makes a slurry. And what will happen is that water will mix with that slurry and basically create almost like a polishing compound in roundabout terms, essentially. And that will provide a much smoother surface once you're done wet sanding. And it's just really, really a good practice if you are if you're doing like a metallic or a candy coat or just a finished gloss. If you want your model to look very high gloss, you need to have an absolutely pristine surface to apply primer and then paint. Your surface is critical. That needs to be clean. It needs to be smooth. Having a wonderful smooth surface creates a perfect foundation layer for your primer to be smooth on, and then your primer will be smooth, and then your paint will be smooth, and then once all that's smooth, and once you apply the gloss coat, that in turn will be smooth. Hopefully, if you've done it right. So that's why we wet sand. We wet sand to make sure that that piece is very, very smooth. So it's just another practice that we modelers, you know, kind of have in our back pocket. So great question. Thank you for that question. Yes, Angelo, Mech Designs on Facebook. He is from the Philippines. He is a wonderful modeler. I am a huge fan of his. He is making a book, by the way, that I really hope to get my hands on. Angelo, hint, hint. So great modeler. I followed him for quite a long time. Very, very talented. He said in the chat, he said, Kotobukiya MSG parts, which are the little vents, these things right here, things to hoard. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. These are definitely things to hoard. And as I'm reaching over here, I'll show you. Yeah, there we go. That's just a small part of my collection of Kotobukiya parts. Yeah, there we go. Hoard away, right? So these things come in so handy because they come in a variety of parts. These parts here are just plates. You know, you've got the little X plates here. You've got some vent parts, and then you've got them in different shapes, squares, rectangles, and obviously different sizes too. So those are really handy. You've got circular minus mold details. These are very, very handy here as well. So good stuff there. And then, of course, you've got the vents. These come in angular style vents, but then also these on over here are rounded, so more bits of oval. And there's a ton of these things, a literal ton. And Kotobukiya I love because these things are so sharp and accurate and just crisp and clean, and detail is nice. Hoard these things like crazy. So yeah, so shit, I can't even pick them all up at this point. All right, so Ray in the chat says, all right, he's heading to bed. Good night. Picked up some tips and tricks from you. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. As always, check out Ray Charles on Instagram and Facebook. Wonderful modeler, and he's a good guy, so check him out. Mecha Fox on YouTube, he says, also I think health reasons, dust particles flying around. Yeah, that's a good tip too, why we wet sand, because that does cut down on the dust particles flying in the air that you ultimately will breathe in at that point. Oh, you're the man, Angelo. Thank you, brother. I'm responding to Mech Designs, Angelo here on Facebook. Love you, dude. Love you, dude. Love your work. Big fan. You know I've wanted that book for a while. I know I've bothered you plenty of times in the past. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. When I write my book, I'll send you a copy as well. How about that? Deal? I don't know when that's going to be, but we'll see. So good questions all around. That's why we sand with water. That's why we hoard Kotobukiya parts and things like that. That reminds me, I want to show you guys something. So bear with me for just a moment here. I got a package from Hobby Search the other week, and I wanted to kind of show you guys what I personally do when it comes to option parts. So I'm going to clear out a nice big space here on the bench, like that. Perfect. All right, I'll be back in 2 seconds. Wait right there. Stay there. All right. So I've got this box of goodies here from Hobby Search. Now, if you guys are not familiar with Hobby Search, shame on you. They are a wonderful company out of Japan. They rival HLJ. Like, I mean, they're so much better, in my opinion. They have more tools and products in stock than I think HLJ does. They cater, shoot, I can't even. They cater much more to the hobbyist. They have tools, they have, builder's parts, all sorts of stuff in there. And as you can see, I've got a load of them in here. Now, what I do, I use a lot of parts, a lot of option parts and things like that. So I have a pegboard behind the camera. You guys, of course, can't see it, but there's a pegboard. I have all of my Kotobukiya parts hanging up in specific spaces. I've got them all sorted out. I've got multiples of each, the whole nine that I've collected over the years. So what I do is I restock every year. I restock that wall every year from what I am low on. So this is what this box is. This is a restock of option parts and builder parts and all that fun stuff. So there's some new stuff in here. There's some old stuff in here. There's some cool stuff in here, and there's some boring stuff in here. So we're going to quickly, very quickly, just go through these, and I'll show you kind of what I have in mind for them, typical uses, things like that. Should be fun, hopefully entertaining, hopefully educational, because that's what all of this is really about. So I'm not going to keep this box here. I'm going to put this off to the side, but that illustrates you. That's a decent sized box here. All right, so let's again take a look at the Kotobukiya MSG parts, what is it? Modeling support goods, not monosodium glutamate for those of you playing at home. All right, so again, I mean, these are maybe, what, $2, $3 for these things, and they come in just so handy. I use a ton of these things on my projects. So these are great things to have on hand. Stock up on them so you can save on shipping. Buy 2 or 3 of each that you may need, because these are going to be just really, really good to have. Surohadi, looking forward to the Jesta for the narrative version. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Jestas are just damn cool anyway. So, getting back to the MSG parts here. So what I have here, this is just kind of a socket set that you can create, just kind of ball joint sockets. Boring. We've got some minus molds here, some normal circular molds. We've got those plates here. Again, these, there we go. Let's see if I can get you focused there. These have kind of a diagonal mold line in them. These are really cool for kind of cautionary panels. You see this a lot on prototype mobile suits and things. Hey, Roomblade, cool. Good to see you, sir, on Twitch. Thank you. Another very fine modeler, Timmy from Texas. Very good modeler. He's won GBWC down there a few times. And what? You came in second one year, I think, right? Could be wrong. Very talented modeler, by the way. Follow him on On Instagram, it's Runeblade265. Very talented. I'm a fan. I love his work, and he seems like a very good guy too. I've never met him in person or talked to him, but he seems like a very, very fine fellow. All right, so we've got other vents. These are the same ones that I showed you before, so nothing new there. I've got 3 of those because I do use these a lot, especially the angular ones. I really like those. These are kind of like rectangular and square vents and stuff like that. Very, very useful as well. And these are kind of rectangular, angular, but they also are tapered to the top style vents. So, you know, pretty vanilla stuff there. Nothing super exciting in these. But when you need these come in so handy, guys. So handy. So stock up on those. Hoard them. They are very nice. Now, Kotobukiya is not the only maker of option parts. Wave was actually one of the original hobby option parts makers in the hobby. They make some really cool parts. They don't make nearly a variety of compared to Kotobukiya, but they make some very unique shapes in what you can get. So I've got a couple of individual pieces here. This is Z Vernier 4. This is type 3 and Z Vernier 4 type 4. Obviously 2 separate looking pieces here. Let's catch the focus on these things. These are much smaller. These are a little bit more rectangular. These have some kind of teardrop shape deals here, some triangular bits here. These up top here, these are really quite nice because they have these little bits of plastic on the side to almost look like latches. These are very cool pieces. I use these quite a lot here too. This is their newer line of Vernier. This is at the S line, or small for those of you playing at home. These are the U Verniers, and these are really, really nicely detailed. I've used these on the Blue Destiny, on the back of the leg, the thruster and everything. So if you check out my Blue Destiny on ChadaMecha.com, you can see what I'm saying. I used some of these on there. These are very nicely detailed. I really like this. Super crisp. Just super, super nice stuff. So Wave also makes some wonderful, wonderful stuff. Getting back to Kotobukiya here for a moment. Kotobukiya makes some really great static fixed posed hands, and they have a variety of them. And these really are kind of my hands of choice for my models. Especially these right here. These are 1/100 scale, and they are a little bit on the larger side, nothing crazy. I've used these on the Hummingbird, and I've also used these on the Blue Destiny that I've worked on. And I think, yeah, I used them on the Ozymandias as well. I use these exact ones. And these are great because they come in like a trigger position hand. They come in a fist, and then they come in kind of an open grip hand as well. I really like the fist and the trigger position hand. The open hand is a little scaled a little bit larger, I feel. The fingers seem long, and I just not a fan of those. But these are great fixed posed hands. You can really modify the hell out of these things. So that's why I got 2, because I use these things like crazy. They also make the wild hand version. So for those of you wanting some static hands for that Barbatos or something like that, these hands will come in perfectly. Now, the ones that I got here are a little on the small side for your normal 1/100s, but Barbatos, probably this is scaled perfectly for the Barbatos. So you can get these. These are the wild hands. They kind of have the pointy fingers on them, and they come in, you know, some crazy positions and things like that too. So wild hands, these are really, really cool too. Cyril Hadi, are you more towards a GM, Gundam, or a Zaku builder? Great question. You know, I'm not really towards any of those. If I was being particular, I'd probably have to say the Zeta Plus because that's my personal favorite. But I don't really have one design that I kind of gravitate to. Let's put it that way. So, great question. Thank you for watching. All right, so let's see what else we got in here. Let's dig in. We've got some more ball joints. We've got some more wave vents and stuff like that here that I forgot to grab. Here we go. Let's show you these. Okay, so these are some more hands here. And these I was actually kind of disappointed in, and I'll tell you why. Because these are non-scaled hands, but they have some really cool positions. These come in 4 different positions. So they come in this kind of flexed wrist kind of trigger position hand. They come in this kind of wide open hand, this karate chop hand, and then this kind of like this semi grip, like under a rifle or something style hand. The reason why I was disappointed in these is because these are small. I work primarily on 1/100s. These are perfect for 144s, so they're a little smaller than what I had hoped for. Let's put it that way. I'll find a use for these, but it might be a while until I find that use for these. So I was a little disappointed on these. So if you do go to buy these hands, these are just the hand unit. I'm sure there's a designation on these, but I can't readily find them on the package. But know that the Kotobukiya hands are a little weird when it comes to sizing. ABS or polystyrene from Searle? Both. Why not? Oh, you mean the hands. The hands are polystyrene. Great question. William on YouTube, have you seen the Kotobukiya MSG headset yet? Yes, and you will too momentarily because I've got it in this box. So good question, good question. So first, let's go through some other things first. That'll be the last thing I show you because that's pretty damn cool. These things right here I was very intrigued with because these are called H joints. And as you can see, hopefully this will focus properly. These kind of double joints here, if you hold them like this, they look like an H. So these are double joints, and these I believe are ABS right here. I don't know if you can see that, but it is ABS. This is made out of ABS plastic, which is good because these are going to be quite resilient, and the friction between the parts will probably be very good too. The molding on Kotobukiya is second to none. They're super sharp and very, very accurate. So of that, I have no doubt. So here you can kind of see some uses for this particular set. You can use these here in elbow joints. You can use these here as like a double, kind of a double joint for maybe like a knee or something if you're designing your own. And then here is like a kind of like a figurehead that you can articulate and stuff. And then here just like a simple pivoting joint. Very, 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 very straightforward. So I really like these. I really like these. I want to dig into these. I want to use these for something. And I think I have some uses in mind for these that I won't tell you about right now because they're way down the line. You don't need to worry about those. Okay, so we've talked about Kotobukiya. We've talked about Wave. Another company that has started making option parts is Bandai. Bandai has been making builders parts for quite a long time. So they don't have quite the collection or variety of Kotobukiya, simply because Kotobukiya has kind of a head start on them. But they do have some nice products that they've brought out here. These are the MS Panel 01, and obviously these are in white. They come in several shades, gray and black, I think. I really dig these because these are a little bit different design from what you see from Kotobukiya and things like that. So you've got, and since these are white, the contrast obviously will not be nearly as good on camera. Yeah, they just look like straight white panels. So I'll describe them to you. This here is kind of a raised X. You can see it a little bit there in the light. This is kind of a raised X panel rather than a recessed X panel like on Kotobukiya parts. This here is just kind of a cool straight panel with some raised detail around the center. This is kind of a hexagonal angular panel. We got a vent panel, and we've got some with rivets down the side. And these come in all sorts of different sizes, as you can see. So I got a couple of those just to try out. I didn't care which color I got. I just got what was in stock. So that's a good thing too. Now, they also make weapon sets, and I really, really like this particular weapon set quite a lot. So I got two. I would have actually gotten more if they had them in stock, but I think I got the last two when I bought these. This is the MS Launcher, but it also comes with a pretty cool katana sword here, and you get two of each. So you get two swords and you get two launchers, which is pretty cool. I thought you were only going to get maybe two launchers and one sword or something like that, but you actually get two each, which is nice. I don't know if I'm going to use the swords anytime soon. I might come up with a crazy idea and use them, but what I really like are these MS launchers here on the back, and you can see them right here, these cool designs here. You could see these here on maybe using these on the Master Grade Jagan that's coming out, to maybe try to start to convert it into a Stark or something like that. Or just putting it on maybe like a Zaku shield, putting two of those on the shield. I've seen people do. So there's a lot of good possibilities with this particular part, and you get two of them in here. So between the two sets, I've got four. So I've got some room to play with these things. Now, the last piece that I have to show you, and what William had hinted to earlier, is Kotobukiya has just started to make these interchangeable heads for their it's more toward their frame arms line of plastic models. And but the cool thing is that all these parts on this set are modular, so you can basically mix and match a bunch of different parts. Try to catch that focus there. Come on, camera. There we go. So you can mix and match a ton of these different parts to form different permutations of heads, and you get looks to be like four separate heads that you can form, which are really, really cool because you've got kind of like almost like a transformer style head here, and then you've kind of got more of a typical Gundam head, and you've kind of got like a frame arms head, and then you've kind of got this weird transparent cover over a robotic head here, which is just kind of really, really cool. And like I said, you can mix and match these things, so there's virtually an endless combination of what you could do with these heads. So these are really cool. I wanted to try these out, see what kind of scale we're talking about here and the sizes. They would probably be good for an 18-meter high 1/100 scale model. So these are pretty cool, well worth the money. So hobby search, 1999.jp.co I think is the website. So look it up on Google, all that good stuff. Very great company. Easy to work with, great site, the whole 9 yards. Let's see. Plamo Warrior in YouTube says, got a set of those too. Trying to think of a project to use them on. Very cool though. I agree. They are very cool. Great comment there, guy. Let's see. Burkana Tier on Facebook there, who owns It's a Gundam sales. It's a Gundam sales, not It's a Gundam Facebook group, but It's a Gundam sales. Very good guy. Check him out. If you live in the States and you need some P Bandai in your life, definitely contact him. He's also available in the Gunpla Colorado Facebook group. Very good guy. Wonderful to deal with, and just goes above and beyond. Really appreciate the dude. But let's take a look at what he says. The builder's parts are awesome. I love the vents and thrusters they have. Also, their handsets are super detailed too. I agree. I just got finished showing some of those too. So love those. Love all of the parts. Kotobukiya is second to none. So great question. Thank you for watching, Burkana. Appreciate that. Check him out. It's a Gundam Sales on Facebook. If you need some P Bandai in your life and you live in the U.S., check him out. Drop him a line. He would be happy to accommodate anything that you might need. Any hard to find parts, pieces, tools, things like that. Give him a shout out, and he'll help you out. Good guy. So, getting back to work. Let's do a time check here. It's 2:45. How long have we been going? We've been going for a little while, right? So I think we started at what? About 1, maybe? Let's see. I think we'll go for a little while longer. Okay? It's 2:45 in the morning here. A little late, but I'm a night owl. Don't worry about it. So, we've got our rim scribed vent cowl that we worked on earlier. So that's all done, cleaned, perfectly looking good. Now, what I always like to do is reassemble the leg to see what it looks like, all together. So let's do that really quickly. We're going to get the piece that we worked and scribed on last night here too. And we're going to get all of the other bits and bobs here for this side of the leg. And we're going to slap that all back on here. Let's do it in proper order first. Pop this piece on there like that. Slide it in. Looks good. All right. Big old piece right here goes next. Right like that. This little piece goes underneath if we can get it on right. Looking good there. And this is the front vent cowl that we scribed last night as well. We did a lot of scribing last night, so if you missed it, you can definitely watch it on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch for a limited time. It's a good watch. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people stopped by and said hello. So, yeah, dude, Burkana on Facebook will be putting a link to his sales page in the Facebook chat. So if you want to check out It's a Gundam Sales, check out his link on the Facebook chat currently happening now. So yes, absolutely, definitely put it on there, dude. Absolutely. Okay, cool. So we've got the pieces back together. I like how this is shaping up. I haven't done this back part here on the leg. I haven't touched that just yet. That's kind of the next step, if you will, in this. But the rim scribe on this vent cowl, I think, looks pretty nice. So what I really now would like to do is add something down here on this. I guess you would call that a thrust guard or something like that. Because you're going to have hot air and you're going to have thrust coming out of this vent. You don't want that melting your ankle assembly. That would be a bad thing to do on a 20-meter mech. So if you were to melt your ankle assembly, you would fall over and not be able to walk. And if you're not able to walk, you would not be combat efficient. That would be a bad day for you. So that's what I'm going with. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it a thruster, thrust guard. Sounds like a good name, yeah? Sounds official. So let's take all these other pieces off here. We'll start to work on this back piece and that thrust guard that we just named. And we'll see if we can't come up with some sort of design that looks cool. So, all right. So for those of you on Facebook, watching on there, or if you happen to want to find Berkana's sales page, it's a Gundam Sales. He has that in the chat right now. So go check it out. Good dude, like I said, and he will absolutely bend over backwards for you. He will. He's just wonderful customer service. You know, he's a friend, but before he was a friend, he was somebody I bought from. So there you go. All right, so we've got our two pieces here. This is basically what it looks like on the leg. So if the leg was like this, that's the orientation that it would be. Now, what I like to do, since you have this cutout here for the articulation of the leg, what I usually like to do is scribe, kind of bring some lines down from those sides there to make kind of like a box. You can see it here on well, maybe you can't see it there on the back side of the leg. Let's see if we can get a focus on this. Where's the light? All right, so there you can see it a little bit better. It's a little hard on camera right now, even with the L lens. If I had a macro lens, that would be so much better, but those are very expensive. So unless you guys donate or support, you're not going to see a macro lens on this camera anytime soon. So, but what I'd like to do is bring, accentuate that cutout. Whoop, off camera there, out of frame. Accentuate that cutout in that area of articulation. You can kind of see the panel lines that I scribed in there, just kind of in the reflection of the light a little bit. I know it's a little hard on this piece just because there's zero contrast. But you can see, kind of where I've got a couple notches here, a couple of horizontal lines, and then they all connect on these vertical lines going up, and then they stop. There's another horizontal line here. Got some horizontal notch there for like a horizontal latch or so. So cool stuff going on there on the back of that leg. What I think I might do is make something somewhat similar on the back here. So this gets down to the design part of our hobby. So to do this, what I like to do is I like to start with kind of like a fine grit sandpaper. This is, I don't know, this is probably 800, maybe 1,000. I don't know. I've used it, so it is what it is. But you don't have to you don't have to wet sand this or anything. What you're doing is just kind of scuffing up the surface that you want to design some lines on. And I'll show you why here in just a second. You just want to scuff it up a little bit. Just, get a little sand etch in there. And that looks good. And then you do want to do that to, the kind of the corresponding panel here. Just so you can properly get your lines designed. This is where the really kind of the creativity of our hobby comes into play, is when you start adding your own designed details. This is fun stuff, at least for me anyways. Sometimes it can be frustrating for people if they're not used to designing panel lines, or if they're not exactly sure what they should be putting on there, if they're new or something like that. This can be challenging, but once you do it, often enough, you'll start to build a knack for it. So we've got this piece scuffed up. Now, what we'll do is we'll take our mechanical pencil here, and we'll just start drawing lines on this thing. Just kind of free form, just kind of off the top of your head, just free thinking some lines here. So, like I said, what I like to do is bring a vertical line down from this indent here, where the articulation is. And that's going to make a nice big access panel. And like last night, when someone asked me, how do you come up with panel line designs? Well, I think about what it's going to take for a technician or serviceman to work on these mechs as if they were real. And I gave an example of like a hood of a car. You open up the hood of a car so a mechanic can get in and work on the engine, right? Common. Everybody has seen a car like that. So same kind of premise here. We're going to be designing panels so that the technician can service the mech easier. And what you want to go on and play off of is the inner frame, because even though there's not a ton of detail on this particular inner frame, there's enough to give you kind of a starting point, kind of a base of a basis for your design. So you've got kind of like a thruster assembly back here. So I'd imagine there are hoses and hydraulics and all sorts of things, that they would have to service back here often. So that's why I like to add, these nice big panels on the back here, so that when those latches are released, these panels just flip up, and you can, basically just get to work servicing this mech. Now, I don't necessarily want to bring them down on this panel here. I want to save that for something else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of cut this off right here before the angle change. So we've kind of got a rectangular box here, and I know this is super hard to see on camera, and I apologize for that, but there's no better way. If this was a lighter shade of plastic, it would be much easier to see the pencil lines and everything. But hopefully in the future I'll work on something a little bit lighter, so you'll be better. The idea will be better illustrated. Also, too, I want to work on some YouTube videos for you guys. Quick snippet videos, tutorials, things like that. So hopefully in the near future those will come out along with the live streams. I'll keep doing these because these are just fun. Keep doing all these things and kind of show you a focused process on these types of procedures and things. So okay, so we've got the box here. Now what do? We kind of, that's boring, we don't want to just leave it as a box. We want to spice that up a little bit with some other lines, some perpendicular lines, maybe some notches or something like that. I don't want it to be a carbon copy of the back of the leg, though, so I need to be careful with that. So what I think I might do is, let's pull out the good old T-square here so I have a good line to draw from here, and we're going to make a line. This is probably about 2 millimeters down from the lower edge here, so we're just going to bring that over, and I think that looks good. Yeah, that's a good start. Good start. It gives it a little bit of character now. So now we've got to do is something a little different here. So at the bottom, what I think I might do is come up maybe 3-4 millimeters or so. That's about 3 right there. And we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to make a perpendicular line just like we did. And instead of just leaving it there, we're going to cut that with the pencil. We're going to make 3 different size boxes here. So we've got kind of a little one here on both sides, and then a bigger one in the middle. So let me show you on the back here what I'm talking about. So move some stuff from underneath here so it's easier. All right, so you've got, you know, a white piece of paper now, so that this should be a lot easier. So you've got your panel here, and bottom of that. So imagine, if you will, this is kind of that cutout there, and the rest of the cowl on the side here. Now this is obviously not to scale, but that's kind of what we're looking at here. We've got this small panel line here. We've got a little bit of a larger panel line here. You've got 2 little boxes here, and I'll hold this up a little bit closer to the camera so you guys can see it better. So that's essentially the design for the back of this cowl. That's what I've drawn on the piece itself. Let's see. Prince Angered. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right on Twitch. He said, I'd love some specific tutorials on YouTube, some high-level stuff. You're going to get it. You're going to get it, because I wanted to do that since January, and now I have kind of the setup that I need. The pieces are in place to where that will definitely become a reality. So look for that. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube to Child of Mecha if you're not already. And that should be coming in the very near future. And you can also continue to watch the live streams and stuff like that on there too. So great comment. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that. Let's check into Facebook. Have you tried some neon fine tip markers on the darker pieces to highlight said box better for viewers? I have not. Matthew Lorico. I am assuming, maybe not. No, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's the same person. But hey, Matthew, thank you for that sub on YouTube. Appreciate that, buddy. But getting back to Berkana here on Facebook. So using neon fine tip markers on the darker pieces to highlight said box better for viewers. I've not tried that. That's a good tip. There should be one with the same type of rub-off ink. Like a dry erase type of thing. Oh, Cry the Angered. Okay, that's how you pronounce it. Sorry, I'm terrible with pronunciations. Oh, cool. Subscriber to 4 or 5 months. Well, thank you, dude. Appreciate that. Man, you've been subscribed for a lot longer than I've been actually doing things on here. So I appreciate that. That's good looking out. Good looking out. So, and I will definitely remember the pronunciation, Cry the Angered, and I will get that right from now on. Or at least I will try to. So, sorry for butchering it the first time. Chris Angered. Yeah, sorry. Messed it up. Anyway, Berkana, very good tip. I might actually have to look into those. So basically, dry erase kind of markers to better highlight what I am doing here for you guys on these dark pieces that don't pick up the pencil very well. It's a great tip. I'll have to look into that. That's good. So thank you for that, buddy. But in the meantime, you've seen the drawing that I've done on that. So what I'm going to do next is actually commit to these and scribe these in. So what I need to do, first and foremost, is get this box scribed in first. And from what it looks like, if I go 10 millimeter wide, that would be a good diameter. Now, just so happens, Dymo tape is about 9.5 millimeters wide. So let me see what that might look like, because that might be perfect for our uses. Because what you're going to do is scribe the outside of the panel line. So once you add another 0.3 millimeters to what the dymo tape is, you're getting close to that 10 mil. And really you want to base it off of the indent here. So I think, man, that's going to get us pretty much perfect. Sweet. So I'm going to use just the full width of dymo tape here to get the outline of that box. Now, if you guys have been living under a rock and not paying attention to what I do on Facebook or Instagram or what have you, then you've not heard me talk about this wonderful tool, the Chopper 2 actually, from Northwest Shortline. This is amazing. I use it all the time for scratch building and all that good stuff. And I use it to cut dymo tape into different shapes and sizes and things. Oh, look, Barkana's on Twitch. I'm also here now as well. He's everywhere. Oh, and Ricardo just stepped in. What's going on, brother? From Japan. He's stationed over there. Thanks for watching. Grab a link for you and everyone else on Twitch. Thank you. Thank you, B. Appreciate that. I'm sure our Twitch viewers will like to get that link from you for your sales page. So what I'm doing here is I'm just basically squaring up the edge here of this piece of dymo tape. And now this piece is perfectly 100% 90 degrees all the way around these two corners here. Let's see how much we're going to need going down the back. Let's see. We're going to call that... we'll call it 17 millimeter, just to be on the safe side. So what I like to do is grab, where did it go here? It's around here somewhere. Where's the L square? Here it is. I like to grab this this L square by Zona. It's got imperial measurements on one side. It's got metric on the other. So I like to use this as kind of my measuring tool when lining up the stop guide on this this chopper. Oh man, you're in Cry the Angered. I said it right. Is in Italy, and he can't find the chopper. It's frustrating, dude. Yeah, I know the feeling. I know the feeling because number one, these things are not the easiest to find here in the States as well. Even on like places like Amazon, it's a little bit harder to find. They do have them come in stock every now and then, but they sell out pretty quickly. If you have a local hobby store, which again, those are kind of few and far between nowadays in a lot of places, they might be able to special order it for you. They might have a distributor that's able to get the chopper for you. So look into that. You might have to pay a little bit of money because it's a special order. But this thing is well worth it. Timmy on Twitch said HLJ has started carrying these, but it was going for $100. That's highway robbery, dude. Holy hell. That's insane. Let's see. Soravan on YouTube. I do know an online hobby store that does sell them in the U.S. There's more that sell them in the U.S. since Northwest Shortline is an American company. So you're going to find them, unfortunately, more readily available in the States. So there's a few of them out there, Soravan, but good call there too. And for those of you on Twitch right now, Barkana just included his sales link in there, so check him out. It's a Gundam sales. Great guy again. So what I'm going to do is use this Zona L square here to measure up the stop guide. Now I just kind of slide this in and bring the blade down to about where I want it to measure, and then just kind of slowly inch it over, and that seems to be about 17 mil. So now I'm going to slide my stop block there up to the ruler, lock that down, and now we have a 17 millimeter repeatable cut. So take your dymo tape, put it on here just like you would any other piece of plastic strip or what have you, and cut. And there is a perfectly squared 17 millimeter piece of Dymo tape. So we're going to move the chopper out of the way. We're going to start to scribe. Where are the optimizers? Here they are. All right, so we're going to throw these back on here. Excuse me. And let's get this backing paper off here. Gotta be very careful with this. You don't want to damage the Dymo tape, especially the edge, because that's where you're scribing, and if you damage that, you'll make a nick in it, and that scribe line will not be pretty. So peel the backing tape off the back there. Grab my tweezers so that this thing doesn't stick to my hands all that much. And then we're just going to line this up here. So we're going to use this indent to help us align this properly, and we're going to kind of measure off the bevel peak here as well. You just kind of want to lay that down just very gently. You don't want to commit to it just yet because there's going to be some adjustment involved. And what you want to do, if you've got this centered, the surrounding area of plastic next to the Dymo tape should be kind of the same diameter. So that's what we're going to look at. We're going to pull out a ruler here, and we're going to see if that measures up. So that's 1 and the mark. And let's see, this is not quite even 1 yet. So we're going to use our ruler. We're actually going to use this as kind of a push stick. We're just going to push this over just a hair to try and line that up a little bit better. And that is now about 1 millimeter, and this should be about that. Yep, cool. All right, cool. Cool. All right, we're just going to make sure, and we're going to press this down and commit to that. So once this is in place, this isn't going to move until you peel it off. So now we've got the perimeter of our scribing, of our box here. So we'll grab our 0.15 millimeter chisel and microfine ultra point pens. Yeah. For those of you on Twitch, Berkana, he posted a link there to Amazon. You can also use these for panel lining, so they should work for the showing scribing lines instead of a pencil idea as well. Interesting, yeah, so those are like pens. I like to use pencil just because you can sand it off, erase it off very easily, but I mean, whatever floats your boat. You can sand off pen really easily too. So whatever you have in front of you is going to be the tool that you should probably use. And if you don't have something that you like, go out and buy it. All right, so let's commit to this box here. We're going to start scribing. Get this straight on my head so I don't go cross-eyed here. So start at the bottom of the box, and you're going to scribe off the piece. That looks good. So first pass, always very light, gentle pressure. Now this is a longer panel line, so you do have to be careful, and you do have to be cognizant of constant light pressure. That's very important, because if this thing starts to go sideways on you, it can really mess up your panel line pretty badly. And what we're looking for is just like a nice smooth pass, and you can hear it. You can actually hear the sound, like I said before, of the plastic scraping out. And if it's just a smooth sound and it doesn't skip or chirp on you, then that panel line is going to be smooth. And another thing that you'll find is that as you make passes along the piece, you're going to essentially create these little spirals of plastic. And if they come off in a long spiral, you know you're doing it right. So hopefully I can get some of those here and I can show you. I don't know if the camera's going to pick those up because they're super small. All right, so here is what I'm talking about. Now, let's see. No, that's not going to pick it up. Let's see if it picks it up on the contrast here of this. Maybe. So you can see that little kind of hair, that little spirally thing on the tip of that chisel. That's the spiral of plastic that came off of that pass. So that's when you know you've got a good scribe line. Let's see. Sorovan, Store, Sprue Brothers. Yeah, I'm familiar with Sprue Brothers. If you want that chopper in the US and you can't get it on Amazon, great. He just, Sorovan just posted a link to that in Twitch. So if you're watching on there, or if you want to hop over to that, that link is there as well. Tried to post it on YouTube, but it wouldn't let me. Yeah, YouTube's particular about posting links. They're a little wily. Cry the Angered. What size chisels do you use on master grades and high grades? Great question. I don't work on a lot of high grades. I will be straight up with that. Link bot protection. Yeah, they're very strict when it comes to that, for good reason. You know, I can't blame them. Does it make it inconvenient for the viewer? Yeah, a little bit. But it's YouTube. They're squirrely anyway. So getting back to the panel line sizes for master grades. For panel lines, just normal panel lines, I like a 0.15, but you can also use a 0.1. Both, I think, are going to be appropriate for normal panel lines on a 1/100 scale model. They also have a 0.125 as well. So any one of those three is good for just normal panel lines. Now, when it comes to notches, like to simulate latches and things like that, then you kind of have a little bit of room to play with. I like 0.3, 0.5, 0.7, and a 1 millimeter sized notches, and you mix and match those, and they create variety on the model. You don't really want the same sized latch for everything, because that just it does detract from the scale and the realism of the model. So keep that in mind. Now for high grades, I would go no larger than a 0.1 for normal panel lines, simply because the scale is smaller. Now for notches on a high grade, I would probably go 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, maybe a 0.7 maxing out. You do want to scale down with the scale of the model. So you want to scale down the size of your chisels as well. So great question, and I know that definitely comes up a lot, so I should probably answer that in a tutorial video about scribing sometime. So good question. So all right, let's commit to this box panel here, and we're going to get this locked in here. All right, so that side of the box panel is good. Let's get the other side here first, and then we'll get the bottom. So nice, super light pass on the first one, and then you can kind of start to apply a little bit of pressure after that. Nothing crazy. You want the scriber to do all the work for you. Now, I don't know if the mic is picking up the sound of the scribe, but that's important. That's very important. It's a nice, smooth kind of screech noise, if you will. Like I said before, if you're hearing that, if you're hearing a nice, smooth screech going over these panel lines, then you know that panel line is going to be nice and clean. All right, let's get this bottom done here. Just extending the panel lines just a hair past the Dymo tape because we want delineation for that bottom panel line. And you got to be careful in the corners because you'll blow them out if you go real crazy on them. Okay, got one side pretty much scribed. Now we turn it around. We go from the opposite corner. And then that box will pretty much be done. Nice, easy passes. And then once both of those corners are trued up, then we can just go the full width of that bottom line and really make that the same depth and smooth it out as well. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Based on when I try to rescribe them, the Bandai lines on high grades are 0.3. It's a little wide for my taste, I'll be honest with you. I think it's way too wide. But some of those panel lines are deliberately that wide. If you're scribing new lines, though, I'd keep with a 0.1. Honestly, the tech they use to make the molds have a hard time going lower than 0.2 millimeter resolution. Yeah, accurate. Very accurate. Even though they're very finely crafted molds, that's accurate as well. So that's why I try to put my own on there as much as possible. And if I need to, I can refill those Bandai panel lines too. So let's see. I mean, yeah. When you're custom scribing, yeah, do he says. Thank you, Sorowan. I appreciate that, buddy. Let's see what's going on over there on the Facebook. Ben's in the watching. Welcome, Ben. For those of you that don't know Benjamin Dragantha Fabian, what a regal sounding name that is. He has a wonderful Facebook and Instagram account as well. Very talented modeler. Dragantha Works, I believe, is the page. And Ben, dude, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry. But very, very wonderful modeler. I'm a fan of his. So check him out if you are so inclined. Let's see what else we got going on here. Dark Azar 99. Any tips for panel lining? Yeah, just keep watching and I'll keep talking. First thing to do, your first pass if you're scribing. Or do you mean panel lining like filling in panel lines like with paint? Maybe that's what you mean. I don't know. Any tips for panel lining? That's what I'm thinking here. I was thinking something else. But any tips for panel lining? Good call. Good question. I use Tamiya panel line accent color. So for me, the process is to obviously lay down your primer. I use Mr. Color, so I use Mr. Surfacer. I'll use solvent paint, so either, for scribing. Well, I was going off on the wrong tangent. So, well, keep watching and I'll kind of explain more. Best thing to do is to start off with super light passes. The first pass on a line should be very light and should just start to take off a little bit of plastic. And then as subsequent passes go, you can start to apply a little more pressure. Now that's just for, like a straight line. For corners and stuff like that, you do have to be ultra careful because you don't want to, blow out the corners and things like that. So when you get to a corner, you want to start from the inside to the outside of a panel. Oh, look, he's on the train. Ben and on Facebook. Okay, that's what I forgot. Draganthus Gumpla Forge. Customs was the old page. Sorry, dude. Sorry, I'm not keeping up with the times here. So yeah, Benjamin, man, great modeler. Check him out on Facebook. Check him out on Instagram. I'm pretty sure he has an Instagram. I think I follow him on there. But yeah, very talented modeler. Big fan of his. So check him out. Another page follow. Good stuff. Let's check back in with Twitch because the guys in Twitch are popping right now. Let's see. Nice. Berkana, it looks like a follow for Ben. Good stuff there. For scribe mistakes, it's useful to use a drop of CA glue and set some baby powder on it. It will dry the glue faster than putty. Absolutely. That's why I have this little bottle of baby powder here. Yeah, so I use that old modeler's trick as well. Very, very good call. Cry the angered. Very good stuff. So back to scribing though. For corners, you need to be careful. You need to start at the corner and then scribe away from the corner. That's going to usually get you the sharpest corner possible. And you just want to be very careful and kind of nibble away at that plastic if you're not meeting up perfectly at that corner. Because there's nothing worse to see a nicely scribed, clean panel line and then the corners be blown out or nicked or, something like that, or just not straight. It completely takes away the illusion of scale and also realism. So we're going to peel this off here. And I'm going to do a little bit of dry sanding on this to hopefully kick up some powder, some sanding dust in there, so hopefully it contrasts so you can kind of see the line that I just scribed in here a little bit better than just me describing it to you or trying to focus the damn camera on it because we're not having much luck with this dark plastic here, unfortunately, with that. All right, that's kicking up a decent amount of plastic dust in here. All right, so hopefully that's enough contrast. Let's get a focus on that. And so you can kind of see, turn this around for a better angle here. So you can kind of see that box scribe there. That's basically just a simple box panel on that piece. And it's literally about 1 millimeter away from the bevel on the outside of the armor. So this is a great starting point for us. We've got that, kind of boxed out at this point. So now we're going to go back with some more Dymo tape, and we're going to scribe in the horizontal lines. What I think I might do, let's see, it's 3:30 in the morning right now here, so it's rather late for me. What I think I might do is finish scribing this and then call it a night. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. So, for these horizontal lines, I like to use, again, these little scraps of Dymo tape left over from other cuttings and things, and very useful to have on hand. No, I used that other piece. I was looking for that other piece I had earlier, but I already used that. So let's see if we have like a 2 millimeter piece in here floating around. This piece looks good enough here. I like that. And we're going to measure these, obviously, before we commit. And that looks to be about 3 millimeter. Maybe 2.5, just from eyeballing it. Let's see what we've got here. All right, let's measure these suckers up and see what we've got. Baby powder, good idea. I'll have to try that. Oh yeah, dude, definitely. The baby powder trick is just an old school method of kind of making a quick filler. So yeah, highly recommended. All right, so this is about 3 millimeters. So that's perfect for the bottom scribe that we want to do. This looks to be about 1.5 mils, maybe 2. Just under 2. So these are perfect. These are absolutely perfect for what we want to accomplish here. So this first one is going to go at the top. And let's get this backing paper peeled off here. Start that, grab this with the tweezers, and then peel the rest off. Throw that in the trash. All right, we're going to apply that to the top here. So we have a nice horizontal line to scribe on. We're going to marry this right up to the top edge of this piece. Ooh, and it's just long enough too. Just long enough. Okay. Square that up. Let's make sure we're square here with the T-square as well. That looks good from that side. Let's check the other side just to make sure. Measure twice, cut once, people. That is an old woodworker saying, but it is very true in the hobby world as well. So, yep. Soravan, if you watch YouTube vids of old plane and tank modelers, yeah, you'll learn a lot of these tricks, dude, because these are old school style practices. I really want to try and find some acrylic powder, but they only sell it normally to dentists and stuff, because you can mix that with CA glue and make a really interesting putty material for filling and sanding and backfilling and stuff like that. There's a modeler that I follow on YouTube. The name escapes me right now, unfortunately, but just amazing tutorials, and older gentleman, and just knows his stuff, man. Really, really good modeler, but he has shown me a ton of old school modeling stuff. Plamo Warrior on YouTube, thanks for taking us through the process. Maybe one day I'll feel more confident to try adding details. Dude, you can so do this, man. Don't be afraid. You can do it. I know you've got the talent, buddy. Barkana says, oh, nice. You can use modeling techniques from all areas for Gunpla. Absolutely, man. It's all scale modeling. So old school techniques are still very useful. Still very useful. All right. Let's get this first horizontal line scribed in, locked in here. Easy first pass. Very gentle. That's skipping on me. Yep. All right. So now, what I said before, if you don't get a smooth scribe, if it starts to skip or if it starts to chirp, like the sound of it when your scriber is going over that panel line, you're not going to have a perfectly smooth scribe. So what I do is, if it's chirping or skipping in one direction, I'll spin it around and try to work it from the other side. Most of the time that works, and we'll see what happens here. Oh yeah, much better. Yep, much, much, much smoother. Yep, bingo. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. That's exactly the sound and exactly the feel, because there's a tactile feel to scribing as well. You're going to know, just through the vibrations of the scriber into your hand, if that panel line is smooth or not. So we're going to peel up that Dymo tape. We're going to check our work, make sure it's square and perfect and looking good. It it could be better. I'll be honest. It could be better, but I'm not going to worry about it because this is not a competition piece for me. This is just a kind of a fun detailing side project, if you will. This is, for me, what I would call an out of box. Now, I know for most people, this would be a full customization job. But for me, somebody who scratch builds a ton and hardcore customizes things like that, this is just out of box. So, Cry the Anger. Do you suggest some modeler to follow? The ones on Gunpla Talk, some less known. Gunpla Talk, I highly recommend, simply because I'm one of the co-hosts on there. So yes, Gunpla Talk is wonderful to follow. So if you follow all the guys on there that actually have YouTube channels, Gundam UK, which is Simon, Justinius Builds, which is Justin, and then obviously Zach, Zaku Aurelius. Those are good, easy follows to take a look at. Barkana, or actually Suravan suggested Vegeta. Yes, very good one there. You'll definitely learn some things from him. Him and Justinius are the ones I learned painting from. Yeah, Justin is a great painter as well. So those are all good follows. What I would probably suggest is look to the guys that you see on Facebook and Instagram. Chances are they're going to have something there, for video. Some are not. Josh Dara, for all the great work he does, doesn't do video. I don't know why. Josh would kill it making videos and everything, just because he has that artistic sense of creating work and stuff. Let's see. Good. Just trying to catch up with the chat. You guys are going crazy in the chat. Warhammer painters are great for learning hand painting. Yes, very good suggestion. Ghost of Xeon. Yes, how could I forget Scott? Actually, absolutely a great follow. His vids are a little bit on the older side, but they still all matter and they are still all completely relevant. Also, check out his paint line. SMS, Scale Modeler Supply out of Australia. Great paint. And if you live in the US, you'll be able to get that very, very soon through USA Gundam Store. I highly recommend that paint. It's very, very well formulated. Let's see. I have a problem, Darkazar 99. I have a problem with scribing lines. Example, those lines aren't straight and having a wrong angle, it looks strange. Yes, I completely understand. That. If they're not straight, you want to make sure that you're using a good a scribing guide tape. This is Dymo tape. There's two types of Dymo tape now. Keep in mind, this is the old school Dymo tape. This is the embossing style of Dymo tape. So this is a thicker plastic ribbon, where the newer style, which is basically it's heat activated, it's much thinner. It's more kind of like your Scotch tape, style of tape. You definitely want the embossing kind. It's much thicker, and your scriber will use that as a guide much better. Also, companies like Haiku out of Japan make a transparent panel line scribing tape that is really, really great too. I've heard really good things about. I've never gotten a chance to work with it yet because I have a ton of Dymo tape that I have to work through first. But definitely use a good scribing tape. Let's see. Let's catch up here. Good protractor. Yes, Sorovan. Excellent point. Where is mine? Where did I put it? Here it is. Okay. So this here is a metal protractor. It has obviously the angle marks around here, and it just turns, with this little knob, and you can get perfect angles every single time. I use this a lot to cut weird angles, maybe not like 45 or 30 or 60 degree angles. But you can dial this in perfectly and get the exact angle that you need. So this is a wonderful tool to have if you're needing to cut special angles. So great point, Sorovan. Thank you for suggesting that. So definitely use that. Let's see what else here. Wave and Madwork sell great scribing tape, more thick, less large, like 3mm. Yes, they definitely have different widths of those as well. Those are good. We've all been there. Yeah, Berkana. I totally agree. There's also some guide tape I'm testing out for everyone too. Good. Also remember, if you mess up, you can fill and redo. Absolutely. You can absolutely fix your mistake. That protractor is amazing. I have one as well. Thanks, Tim, for the tip. Hey, you're welcome, dude. Oh, look, we got a new subscriber from YouTube, Ness. Thank you. Thank you for following. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate that. Love that sound too, by the way. So good stuff there. When it comes down to scribing, especially little things, a good little T-square like this, or a nice kind of metal ruler with a nice 90-degree angle, something like that, or like I showed before, this little Zona L square here is a great little tool. Those are all things that would help you cut the Dymo tape to exactly where you want it to be, because the Dymo tape is going to act as your guide. Now, like I showed before, if you're doing kind of a rim scribe around kind of like the thruster cowl that I did before. And if you didn't see it before, if you tuned in a little bit later, you can go back and see me scribe this on this very stream. I used kind of a scribing jig with a couple pieces of plastic. You can make those. Those are really simple. And then also what I've seen a lot of guys do, and I've done this before in the past, is to take thinner styrene sheet, like 0.5 mil, 0.3mm wide, and make templates out of them. So what some guys will do, if they have a complicated scribing pattern, you can cut out the pattern in this, tape that down to your piece with some masking tape or something like that, scribe along the plastic, which is rigid, and then what you can do is you can take that template off, apply it to the other side, and mirror your scribed panel lines. So these are all sorts of ways to achieve great scribed lines. Sometimes you got to get a little creative, think outside the box. So those are some good best practices there. Oh yes, Sorovan, very good suggestion that. So Sorovan over on Twitch recommended the panel line technique book. That is from one of my friends on Facebook, New. N-U. What's his name? Anupong Chanarong. I believe he's from Thailand. Wonderful modeler. He's come in second over there in their GBWCs, I think, for 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 years straight, maybe. And he's working on his second book now. His first book was about panel lines, scribing panel lines and suggesting panel line patterns and techniques and things like that. Great book. It's in English. You can find it on USA Gundam Store. Wonderful book. I think it's like $40 or so US. I've got a copy. It's a great book to have. You also get a painting, a little painting book as well. So yeah, pick that up. Very, very good stuff. Scribing round pieces, i.e. Zaku's, is hard. Yeah, that is hard. That's probably one of the harder techniques to do, is really curved style surface. But I don't know where it is. I don't know what am I looking for here? I'm looking for my circle template, and I can't find it. It's around here somewhere. It's probably under some of these papers or something like that. But what I've found is when you need to scribe round lines, or even on a rounded surface, using like a circle template, kind of like your see-through templates that are used for drafting. Those come in very, very handy. That's how I scribe the teardrop panel line on the top of the Ozymandias head. Those are very, very useful. Yeah, circle templates sort of on yep, exactly. Hasegawa makes them. I know Hasegawa does make these style templates. These are the tri-tool style templates. But they only go up to, what's the largest one here? I think it's 10 millimeter. No, that's 9.5 millimeter. So if you're not scribing anything over 9.5 millimeter, these are great. But if you need to scribe something a little bit bigger, then like a see-through drafting template or something like that is really useful as well. So, any of those circle templates. Diamond does not stick well on rounded surfaces. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. What I try to do is use thinner pieces so it gets more surface area adhesion. Because if you use a wider strip of Dymo tape, half of that Dymo tape's not going to be adhered to the surface. So if you cut a smaller, thinner strip, that will have more surface adhesion, and it won't move or tilt on you as much. So use thinner strips. Let's check back over on Facebook. Benjamin over there, the templates are what I'm testing now. Cool. Also priming before scribing. And fixate them with super glue. Yeah, definitely. That's a good call too, because you can just pop those off there. If you just kind of tack glue those, almost like tack welding. I've done that in the past with certain things, and that does work too. So that's a good suggestion there. Needs practice, but works good. You're definitely right, Ben. You're definitely right. Berkana says, there's some new MadWorks scribing templates coming out that seem really helpful as well. Yeah, MadWorks is just, making some really, really good products that seem very useful. So yeah. There's also another, it's a Japanese company, Idola. Idola. Hobby Search carries these. The last time I checked on them, they were out of stock, and that was, mind you, like a month or two ago. But they make little miniature metal French curves, like a French curve set. And if you've not French curves are basically for drawing and artistic work and things like that. So, kind of these sweeping, kind of artistic curves, these types of things. These are French curves, and these are obviously used for drawing and drafting and things of that nature. So these are a little large for scribing panel lines, but they sometimes do come in very, very handy. So that's why I've got a couple sets of those in different sizes. But the miniature ones are yay big, maybe an inch or two wide, and they seem very, very useful. I want to try to get a set of those. Those are good stuff. What's the name of that curve stuff? Idola. I-D-O-L-A. Idola. That's the company that makes those little French curves. Cry the anger. Lately, modeling tools sales is going crazy. There are a lot of tools and utilities. My pockets cry. Yeah. The better tools are expensive, and I can imagine, especially being in Italy, kind of the markup there too. So, man, sorry about that. Gundam modeling is growing fast. Yeah. One of my favorite modelers over there in Italy, Ricardo. I met him at GBWC 2016. Wow, amazing modeler, great guy, fun to be around, very funny. I'm a huge fan of his. Ricardo Forni. He's got a Instagram page. I don't know if he's got a Facebook page though. I could be wrong. But yeah, check out Ricardo Forni on definitely at least on Instagram. So great modeler there. All right, so let's get these rest of these panel lines etched in here, because I know I've been talking a long time, answering questions, interacting with you guys, and that's fun. But it's almost 4 o'clock in the morning here. I need to get some sleep, people. Tomorrow is Friday, so that's a good thing. But I still need to work tomorrow. Luckily, I work from home, so that helps a little bit. So Cry, oh, you do, cool. Yeah, he is the team on Team New Type. Yeah, love Ricardo, man. He was a great he's great to hang out with. Good to meet him over there in Japan. Wonderful modeler. Really enjoy his company. And they have Team New Type does, and I follow those guys. Those guys are insanely talented, but I don't think Ricardo has his own individual Facebook page. Yeah, I'm friends with him on there. Just an outstanding individual all around. So yeah, if you know him, man, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Wonderful inspiration, might I add. So all right, let's get this last horizontal line scribed in here. Light pass, smooth sound, smooth feel. We're looking good. All right, tear that off, throw it away. Perfect. That is nice and square. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, so now we're going to do those two little boxes on the opposite sides of this. Let's see. Yeah, lots of talking. I end up always drinking and helping on GBA until 6 a.m. drunk. This is Soravan, by the way, over on Twitch. Good stuff there. Oh yeah, and plug for GBA. Yeah, man, Gundam Builders Association, man, lots of fine people over there. I like a lot of those folks over there. Craig and Tex especially. Love her a lot. Like watching her live streams and the models that she creates. She's very creative. She's great. Joel, all those guys, man, all of them over there on the GBA. So very good stuff. I like all those folks. I'm kind of like GBA adjacent, when Silver Stray, he came to one of our very first classes at the Gundam Kitchen, brought some some really cool stickers, and I've got them over here on my workbench with, kind of like my wall of fame, if you will, with some other stickers from some other folks and stuff like that. But I do have the GBA sticker over there prominently, so shout out to the GBA. All right, so scrap Dymo. We're gonna get something. We're gonna get a little thin piece in here, maybe a 1 millimeter sized piece of tape. That looks to be about 1.5 mils. So I think this is good. We'll go with this. Now, is that even? Even enough. That's even enough. As my driving instructor said back in high school when I was learning to drive, he gave me some really great words of wisdom. And I know getting words of wisdom from a driving instructor is a bit weird. But he said to me, when teaching me parallel parking of all things, he said, it doesn't have to be good enough, or it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. I've followed those words of wisdom for 30 plus years at this point. So I couldn't tell you the guy's name. I don't remember him from Adam, but those words have stuck with me. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. So there you go. All right, get that backing tape off there. Catch that with the tweezers. Let's apply this. Whoop, I didn't get the backing tape off. That would have been a bad day. That's lined up good. Let's get the other piece applied so we don't have to worry about that little bitty piece of Dymo tape wandering off from us here. Catch that with the tweezers, get the backing tape off there. Yep, got it. Line that up, and we'll get these last scribes in on here. Okay. Make sure these are properly aligned. So the last thing you want is misaligned Dymo tape. All right, there we go. Now, last two little lines here for tonight. Let's see what else. What's going on in the chat? Sorvon says, Tex has a lot of fans all over. It's pretty shocking who we're into, who knows her. Yeah, man, she's good. You know, I like the kind of the first first time I noticed her was on Instagram, and that the Vincent van Gogh that she was doing. Saw her painting that, and then started to follow her from there, and I just kind of kept up with it. So she's good people. She's really, really cool. Yeah, Percana, do not drop it or it's gone. Yeah, pretty much those little pieces of Dymo tape. Sorvon says, yeah, I know a British dude who's working for a Saudi prince who's working in Japan making anime, but he knows Tex's work. Damn. Everybody knows her work. Plamo Warrior, it's been a pleasure watching you, sir. Gotta get ready for bed. I'll catch the rest later. Hey, man, thank you for watching. As always, it's been a pleasure. So, tune in later. Watch the rest of this. Probably only in like another 20 or so minutes. So, we're going to get this done, and we'll go from there. All right, last couple lines. All right, that one looks good. Nice light passes to begin with, like I always say. Okay, so those are scribed. Now we got to get the tape off here and check our work. Pop that off. All right, so now we've got a little bit of cleanup here because plastic shards are still in these panel lines. So we just got to clear those out with our scriber here. All right. Let's inspect this. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. So, let's take a look here. Let's see if this will pick up for you guys, because who knows if it will or not. I don't know. It's a little far away. Let's bring it down a little bit to catch that focus. Yeah, I don't know if you guys... Well, wait a minute. Here we go. So you might be able to see that at this angle. Man, that hurts my wrist holding it like that. Trying to get focused there. But you can kind of see those two little boxes here. And this box at the bottom is separated into 3 parts. So it's hard to see, I know. Wish I had a lighter piece of plastic to show you guys with, but man, that's the Jesta. It's a dark blue piece. So one thing I always stress: when you are not using your chisels, apply good chisel discipline. Put the cap back on the damn thing. So you don't want to waste that money, because these things cost a lot. All right, so let's wrap it up. Let's take a look at the chat and catch up with everybody. Let's see. Yeah, the Van Goof got a lot of attention, sort of. Yes, it did. I think it was cool. I kind of like the idea. It was very original. Darkazar, for sanding, would you recommend using sanding sponge or sanding paper? Both, man, both. Because if you're sanding a curved surface like Zaku or Dom or Gelgoog, like a leg or something like that, then a sanding sponge is going to come in quite handy. But you don't need it. But if you have it, it's good to have. Sanding paper all over the place, you can use that on everything. You can use it on straight pieces, curved pieces, what have you. So both, but if you only had to pick one, then sanding paper, definitely. Sorvan said, yeah, it depends on the surface. If it's flat, I'd say paper glued to yeah. So, yeah, just what I said. I said that before I read his comment, but yeah, I echo that. They have different uses. If you want to keep the corner crisp, use sandpaper, sanding sponges. Absolutely. It's good, but manual control, definitely. Oh, I get it now, but I have to sand with water. Is it really necessary? It just provides a smoother surface. So that's kind of why we sand with water. Let me switch back to camera 1 here, so you're not looking at an empty bench. It is good for keeping particles in check as well. The water catches those dust particles and keeps them kind of contained in the water. Wet sanding has its place when doing very fine sanding or when sanding and you don't want dust. Yes, sort of definitely there on Twitch. Let's see. Waves hand knows the Zaku pain. Yeah, you do, Burkana. You definitely do. If you're just doing sanding seam welds, I mean, you don't really need it. Wet sanding is it's more of a fine finish. for your surface. If, like I said before, if you're doing like a gloss or metallic or candy coat where you need a perfectly smooth surface, or even if you're just doing like a high gloss finish on your model, you want a nice smooth surface to start with. You want a nice smooth foundation. But just for general sanding and things, you don't have to wet sand. I particularly like it just because it gives a nice smooth surface to to the model pieces. So it's nice and smooth when you go to paint and primer. Yeah, Sorban, absolutely. You can use you can regular sand first. Like I said, wet sanding is more of a finishing technique for a piece. So yeah, dry sand first, and then you can move on to higher grits and wet sand and all that. So absolutely, that's very, very true. So, all right. So I'm caught up with the chat there. Let's check Facebook. Facebook, we're good as well. So I think, guys, that's where we're going to end it tonight. It's been a pleasure. Great second night. I think we covered a lot. We did some scribing. We did some panel work. Showed you how to make some jigs. And we worked with epoxy putty. So I think we did a good little bit of work tonight. So hopefully you guys learned. Hopefully you were entertained. I don't know if you were or not, but I'm very hopeful that that you were entertained. If you would like to get this amazing RX-78 rifle shirt, you can do so on Child of Mecha store. Just go to childofmecha.com. You'll see the link there at the top. As always, man, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all the guys that have tuned in tonight, asked questions. For those of you watching in the future, thank you for giving us a watch. Tune in this weekend on Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern U.S. time for Gunpla Talk. That's going to be this weekend, and it should be a great, great episode. So tomorrow night I'm going to take off. I'm going to spend the night with the family, and we'll be back live streaming probably Saturday night. So we might go extra long on Saturday night because I don't have shit to do the next day. So why not, right? So for all you guys, thank you again for watching. We'll see you next time.